As someone who personally struggled with addiction for 9+ years of my life to substances such as nicotine, THC, energy drinks, and adult media content, and as a certified addiction recovery coach, someone who runs one of the largest YouTube channels on addiction and addiction recovery topics, I think it's time that we start to normalize addiction and normalize substance use. By doing so, I think it's going to have a lot of benefit and it's significantly going to reduce the amount of harm that people have been subjected to over the last several years. Now, if you wind up enjoying the content in today's video, be sure to check out the pinned comment or the video description to learn more about both our paid and free program resources, as well as our supplements designed to help people quit, reduce cravings, reduce stress, anything like that. So I think as a society as a whole, one of the worst things that we've done is demonize substance use, is demonize consuming drugs. And no one's more responsible for this than anyone, as is the addiction recovery community, a community that I'm part of, a community that's literally in the title of my company. And I'll explain what I mean by this. Substance use, and I was told this too for years, is largely viewed as a bad thing. It's viewed as a very abnormal behavior. And this is far from the truth when you think about it, because you could get addicted to anything, right? I'm currently addicted to working and making YouTube videos. I'm currently addicted to exercising at night and going for walks in the morning. I'm currently addicted to, whatever, a number of various things. I make a protein shake every day that I really like. I like the taste of the peanut butter, and I'm arguably addicted to it. Okay, I'll put that in loose quotation marks. But you can get addicted to anything, especially if you do that thing over and over and over and over and over again. Making YouTube videos, I get views, I get comments, we get emails, we get DMs, we get business. That's addicting. All of this stuff is addicting. And for years, I was trying to change the way I felt through the use of substances. That was how I chose to change how I felt. Everyone, at one point or another throughout the course of the day, wants to change the way they feel. And people do that through different techniques, right? So some people may go for a walk. Some people may smoke a cigarette. Some people may check their phone and browse social media. Some people may check their emails. Some people may eat a sugary piece of food or eat a fatty or starchy piece of food, right? We're constantly wanting to change how we feel. And this is not an abnormal behavior. You can look back throughout history, and humans have been doing this for a very, very long time. Humans have been consuming substances for a very, very long time. So why suddenly then did we start to demonize the use of substances? Why could you even argue that my channel's done so? And why would that potentially be a bad thing? Because once we're locked into this category of, hey, you're addicted to weed, you're addicted to alcohol, you're an addict, there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with your genetics. There's something wrong with your past. There's something wrong with your mental health. There's something wrong with your ability to make rational decisions. You're diseased. Once we start labeling people as this, and as society continues this rhetoric and as it ramps up and up and up and up over the years, what's the person who's struggling with addiction led to believe? There's something wrong with me, right? I was led to believe that. Now, in theory, that makes sense. If you looked at my day-to-day behaviors, you'd say, yeah, there's something wrong with this guy. He's smoking weed, he's consuming nicotine, he's watching adult media content, he's drinking 2 or 3 energy drinks a day. But was there really anything wrong with me? I wanted to change the way that I felt. And how I chose to do that was through the use of substances, which actually makes a lot of sense because substances, they're easy to get access to. They're very fast acting. And the ones that I chose to partake in, when separated out individually, in the moment, they didn't cost that much money, right? It's relatively cheap to pound an energy drink. It's relatively cheap to smoke a single cigarette. It's relatively cheap to consume a single edible. It's relatively cheap to buy a low cost, low grade dab pen that has 1 gram or 2 grams in it. It's relatively cheap in the moment. It's fast acting, and it's going to accomplish the goal of making me change the way I feel. So is there really something wrong with me, or was I just a genius because I was changing the way I felt a lot quicker than a lot of other people with a lot lower level of effort? So when you think of it this way, and you start to see yourself as a human being and not someone who's rampantly struggling with this mysterious disease called addiction that has all of these flaws, right? My genetics are flawed. My history is flawed. With depression and anxiety and trauma. Once you put all of that to the wayside and you say, wait a second, I'm actually not that different than many other people from society. My choices might look different. How I'm achieving that goal of changing the way I feel might look different. But my thought process is actually very similar to the person who's eating, a slice of cake with lunch, to the person who's drinking a diet soda, to the person who's compulsively checking their email or compulsively checking their social channels. It's to make them change the way they feel. Maybe they're anxious. Maybe they're stressed. Maybe they're bored. To the person who's going to work out to deal with anger. To the person who's going for a walk or a swim to deal with stress. What if you're not inherently different? But what if you've been told that you are, right? And what if you've been told you have an addiction, you have a problem, you need all this help, it's a disease, you're never going to permanently overcome it, you're always going to be this way? What if that is actually just an excuse to keep behaving exactly the way that you're behaving? What if that has become a justification for you to not change? Because suddenly to you, change seems impossible. But to the person who's going on a walk, to the person who loves exercising, to the person who's eating cake, well, maybe to them, change doesn't seem so hard. Why? It's releasing dopamine. It's making them change the way they feel. It's arguably something that could be very addicting. Well, why can they change? But we, those who struggled with addiction, have such a hard time doing so. I would argue it's because you've been told that. There's a phenomenal book out there. It's called The Freedom Model. I'm going to link an Amazon associate link to it in the video description here. And the book gives this example. And they call it, I think, the playground example or something like that. And they reference little kids. And they say, if your kid is running across the playground and your child slips and falls and lightly hits their noggin, and you react saying, hey, it's okay, get up, brush it off, you're fine, you're not really that hurt, chances are the kid's going to laugh and move on quickly. I know this. I watch this firsthand. I have a 1-year-old at home. But if the kid's running, they trip, they fall, they lightly hit their noggin, and you run over there and you say, oh my God, are you okay? You fell so hard. That looked terrible. The child's going to start crying. They're going to start bawling their eyes out. The mind is a very, very, very powerful thing. And you can take that example and you can relate that to addiction. So if I say nicotine addiction is the worst thing in the world, it's a lifelong addiction, you're never going to overcome it, and it's impossible, and you have to use nicotine replacement therapy, and you have to do all this stuff to get through it, and you have to go to meetings, you have to go to 12-step meetings to overcome nicotine addiction, and you have to do this for the rest of your life, because once an addict, always an addict. Well, do you even care to quit? Or does that just make you want to cry? If I say, hey, nicotine addiction actually isn't that bad. Worst case scenario, you're going to have some flu-like symptoms for a period of time. But there's a lot of people who just wake up and quit and don't feel any problems at all, maybe some minor discomfort. Thousands of people who do that every day, right? Cannabis, 97% of people will successfully quit on their own who struggle with addiction to it. That was one of the statistics pulled from the Freedom Model book, which is heavily rooted in research. If I say those things, well, now what? Now it's like, wait a minute. So people have successfully done this and they're not struggling the rest of their lives and they just overcame this thing? Well, maybe I'll give it a shot. You want to cry a little less. It actually makes you want to try a little harder. So how the information that you're getting on a cultural level, the information that you're getting from the people that you're speaking with that are quote unquote helping you quit is going to have a massive influence on how this process goes for you. I've said this in many videos over the many years that I've been doing this. The bigger deal you make of it, the bigger deal it's going to be. And if everyone, either intentionally or unintentionally, is making a big deal of it around you, if your environment, your friends, your family, your support networks, if they're making a big deal of it and they're telling you it's a lifelong problem and that you're an addict and that you're screwed up forever, you're screwed up forever. You're not going to escape that. But if you can see it for what it actually is, the fact that you're a human being, unless, maybe without the psychosis or some extreme situations of addiction, which do exist, you have autonomy, you have the ability to make rational decisions. You rationally chose to buy the weed. You rationally chose to buy that vape. You rationally took that item and put it in your mouth and inhaled, right? If you recognize it as that, doesn't that give you a lot more power? Doesn't that give you a lot more control? Doesn't that give you a lot more hope? I think by normalizing substance use and saying, you know what? Yeah, this person isn't screwed up. This person isn't diseased. They're just going about accomplishing a goal of changing how they feel like everyone else in a different manner than everyone else. But hey, actually not that different from everyone else, by the way, when we consider how many people out there are struggling with addiction. Suddenly it's like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I'm not that messed up. Maybe there is a chance for me. There's been a lot of chances for a lot of other people. It's something worth considering. The normalization of substance use, not the demonization of it, if that's a word. Because the more we demonize it, the more we make it seem like this big to-do, the less the chances are that the person who's struggling is actually going to find that will from within themselves to stop. Because stopping then seems impossible. If we were going to go climb a hill right now, and I said this hill is impossible to climb, you're never going to make it up this hill, would you even bother trying? But if I said to you, hey, thousands of people have climbed this hill before you. Yeah, you're going to hit some rough patches, but we got some tools that can help us out. I'm 97% confident that 9 out of 10 people are going to make it up this hill. What would you say? You'd say, yeah, it's definitely worth a shot. I feel pretty good about that. I'll take those chances. 9 out of 10 chance I'm going to make it. Yeah, let's do it. Think about it. It's worth thinking about. Now, guys, if you need help quitting, we have free PDFs on how to quit found in the pinned comment. We have our Kick It Crave Less Chewing Gum supplement, which can help take the edge off when it comes to cravings, when it comes to stress relief. Again, it's a supplement that contains KSM-66 ashwagandha and N-acetylcysteine. For a lot of people out there, it's going to change how you feel when you're using the supplement, usually in regard to stress relief and improved focus. We also have 1,000 other videos on this YouTube channel helping people overcome substances. So either follow me right into the next playlist, hit up the pinned comment, or check out the video description where you can pick up a copy of that book, The Freedom Model. This is not sponsored by them, but I hope to have the authors of that book on soon because they've done a really good job with their approach when it comes to quitting substances. So check all that out. Coaching, supplements, books, pinned comment, video description, or just hit up the next playlist. Until next time.